He has a lot of patience behind his shots, even though he fights like an embodiment of ADHD, knocked out with headshots. It looks like their soul leaves their body, but when people get knocked out with body shots, it looks like they would want their soul to leave their body so they didn't have to experience what he's experiencing right now. That's the universal body language of damn, I'm getting overwhelmed. But I'll be honest, uploading at 12 a.m. on a Tuesday isn't the best idea, which is why we're doing it at a more normal time. So here's the breakdown. Now, what's interesting about Bam is that he fights like how you would expect a little person to fight, but maybe the little person isn't the right word, because he might end up getting put in a protected class that he doesn't belong. But you know what I mean, 112, 115 pounds, wherever, like really small. But I think I want to start the longer form breakdowns with him in particular, because I like this fight a lot. But also, I think he's the face of underrated boxers. There's a lot of talk about the Benavidez's, Beterbiev, Canelo, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, Matias, Shakur Stevenson, so many popular fighters, or more popular than him at least. Their names get brought up more than him, but Bam's skill level compared to everyone there is either on the same level or above. And he's, a top 5 pound for pound fighter. We talked about some of this in the first round, but in the second round, he's building and setting up traps with that lead hand, probing to elicit a step in jab from Estrada. But, I never just say traps are like one instance unless it's really obvious, because maybe this is just a reaction from him, but time will tell. And when I say time, I mean in a few seconds. Literally a few seconds later, as he's approaching him, probe at the guard, waits for Estrada to step in, pulls back. He does get touched a little bit right there. It's not that's why traps take time to set up, adjust the range, adjust the timing. So he does get touched right there. And then he throws that uppercut to the body underneath. That uppercut to the body was there throughout the entire fight from the first round to the finish. He's already so low to the ground, with all due respect, and he level changes and crab walk. He has these like weird stutter step entries and like these weird rhythm breaks that he does. He's very unique with his approach, even though he's similar to some fighters, and we'll talk about that, obviously, one of them that comes to mind. But he brings all of these unique feints and footwork techniques to the table that are really, and especially combined with his constant pressure, is really overwhelming. Another shot he really liked in this fight is looking for that lead or rear uppercut, especially in response to the jab or the right hand, depending on, he'll switch up with the lead or the rear depending on if it's a jab or right hand. Here he waits patiently. He's very patient, even though he has the style that's he has like an ADHD style, but he's very patient. He like looks for the movement of that left arm. As soon as he sees it, he slips on the outside and then throws that lead uppercut up the middle. He's creative, and I think that's why he's a good ambassador for the lower weight classes. He's very entertaining to watch. Now, when he gets compared to Loma, there's some obvious things like the footwork and the angle changes, circling around and all that. But even some subtle stylistic similarities are interesting, like this little slip feint to the outside that he does. That's a classic Loma thing. I'm not saying that he's the exact same as Loma or copying him or anything like that. I'm just saying there are some similarities there that are very interesting to note. We're talking about that stutter step. He does it right there. He breaks the rhythm, slips his head to the outside, counters the jab. Perfect. It's like a perfect setup right there. Outside foot position and everything. But then as he exits, pulling back in a straight line, that cross gets through. Very interesting. We're going to build off of that. Stick around. Now, we've covered the idea of territory before, or like macro positioning, where you are in the ring. And Bam, this is a really subtle elite quality that he has, constantly being able to manipulate where the fight takes place, backing up opponents with the feints. You see Estrada pull back from Bam's feints, and then obviously the pressure with his feet, and then constantly like giving you stuff to worry about. He just, everything he's doing is making you react, and a lot of times making you back up against the ropes. And Estrada is forced to do something about that. Right here, he throws a cross to make room so he can get out of there, and you see him circle out because he doesn't want to be against the ropes. But Bam is putting him against the ropes so many times in this fight because of everything that he's doing. his style somewhat centers around disruption, and one of his primary tools when it comes to weapons is that jab and that lead hand, constant probing and touching. And it's to the point where Estrada can't even pull up his pants without getting touched, which sounds crazy, pause, but you know what I mean. It's something always is happening. It's a feint, or it's a jab, it's a probe, he's getting punched in the face with a cross, he's getting circled around, something's always happening, and you never get the chance to get comfortable, to think, to adjust, to relax. Pay attention to how Bam responds when Estrada tries to step in with his offense. Going back in a straight line, he does get his head down, but we'll see how that doesn't make too much of a difference later on in the fight. And he doesn't always go back in a straight line, but he does it enough for it to be a pattern that can be timed. Now, some stuff has to be played in full speed, like when he uses the jab we were talking about earlier to just teleport around that man in an instant. Now, when you have this Tasmanian devil style of constant movement, in and out movement, side to side movement, whatever, but particularly with in and out movement, it can be timed, and there's that danger we saw with Manny Pacquiao in the past, and Loma has been timed coming in. So anybody with that style has been timed coming in, and watching that, it looks like Estrada's going to counter, but he doesn't. And Bam kind of like falls into this cross, and his left leg wants to keep going forward because of the momentum, but he actually uses kind of like that disadvantageous position to turn it into an angle change. And since Estrada is down there, his vision is compromised, and so subsequently his defense and offense is as well. And so Bam just completely changed positions. He used him being a little bit off balance. He used that momentum to circle around and then set up that lead uppercut. Most recent topic on this channel has been talking about boring and great and the intersection between those two things. And this little sequence right here is going to be a good example of how you can be great and entertaining, but it involves risk. So he's jabbing and he's pulling back. He's jabbing and he's pulling back. That's that trap we were talking about earlier. He's waiting for Estrada to respond. As soon as he does, he's making room. And instead of doing the responsible thing of like defending himself, which that's the smart thing, to be honest, he does the riskier thing that could potentially get put on a highlight reel both ways. But he's trying to take the risks to do something amazing, to pull off a great back foot uppercut counter, which is something you don't see a lot, but that's why it would be great, right? You want to do extraordinary things, and that would be extraordinary if he would have dropped him with that jumping backwards backhand uppercut counter. Yeah, but it's all about the risk, essentially. That's the important thing to note. Now, this might be the first clean combo that Estrada lands on Bam, and it's the 1-2. And I point that out just because that right hand is starting to track Bam. It's no longer just going where Bam is, it's going where he's going. It's following him to where he's going to be. I think in the past I've said Loma is either one of, if not the most annoying fighter to deal with, because he's always doing something to you. You never get a chance to breathe, never get a chance to relax. But then I saw this man fight Estrada. I was like, oh my God. He just, everything, he's a violent energizer bunny. He never stops. And so he jabs, and then he level changes, and then he circles around you, and then he hits you with an uppercut, and then you try and throw something and he just gets underneath it, and then he resets again, and then he whoop, body shot. And then you think you're going to get an opportunity to breathe. Boom, jab comes out. But this is a smooth part right here. He has a little pause in the rhythm. But before he throws the hook, it's not a 1-4, it's a 1 pause 4. And it's just some smooth stuff. He's doing a lot of different stuff in tight periods of time. Just a lot of speed, a lot of overwhelming feints and movement. Just, it's too much to deal with, to be honest. Which is why Estrada was getting cooked. We just talked about this. Not just a double jab followed by the uppercut, but a double jab, pause, wait for Estrada, patience, look for the shot, and then line it up. And when he gets the knockdown, that's exactly what he does. He jabs to force Estrada into a defensive state. He lets him be defensive. Patience, pause, boom, lines up the uppercut, and then he's going to do it again, jab, and then he lands the cross. And that's what sits him down. Also, the accuracy, like Estrada tucks his chin, tightens his guard over, and he still is able to touch that chin. And he touched his chin when he dropped him too, but Estrada tucked his chin. It just doesn't matter. Again, this is another one we got to put in full speed. about a 5-punch combo in a span of about 1 second, maybe underneath, maybe a little bit over. But he's landing speed bag combos on Estrada, and Estrada is still in this fight, and he's still dangerous, which Bam is about to find out very soon. Of course, that uppercut to the body is still there. Patience. He has a lot of patience behind his shots, even though he fights like an embodiment of ADHD or cocaine. He's very like you look at him, he's like doing all this movement, he's like insane, but he's also very patient when he sets up his shots. I generally don't speak on body language too much because it's like nebulous territory, unless it's for like setting traps, because that's more obvious. But in this instance, I think Estrada is giving off the universal body language, like his feet coming together, his hands going out like this. That's the universal body language of, damn, I'm getting overwhelmed. But even though he's getting overwhelmed, we're about to get into that 6th round, and we'll see how he responds. Footwork and distance management is the key to the differences between these two sequences. Here's the first one. As Estrada steps in with the jab, he takes 1 step with the jab and takes like a smaller secondary step with the cross, and he falls short. Now here's the second sequence. He steps in with the jab and he keeps stepping. He takes a bigger step behind the cross, keeps going, and follows him all the way. He closes the distance. He catches up to Bam and touches that chin, sits him down, and Bam recovers pretty damn fast for that to be a shot clean on his chin. Now, at this point, Bam is pretty much entirely recovered. Legs are fine. He's moving. He's countering. Reflexes are there. So I don't think he's really concussed like that. I think he's more feeling the pain of embarrassment. And you see him shake out his arms right here. And what's funny about him is that everything he does is in 2 times speed. So even him like shaking off the nerves is extra fast for no reason. We were just talking about the body language of a trap, Once Bam throws that jab, look at him. He's like frozen like a statue. He's patiently waiting. And once he gets that response, he sees Estrada overextend, step in, kind of fall in. He tries to line up that uppercut. So that's what I mean, body language of a trap. You can see Bam patiently stops, freezes like a statue because he's waiting. We love talking about adjustments and building. And this is a really smooth sequence from Bam because he jabs. And obviously he knows after his jabs, Estrada's gonna respond. Estrada responds with the same combo that dropped him earlier. He gets underneath that and counters with his favorite shot in this fight, that left uppercut to the body. Doesn't land in the best spot, and he turns and he kind of smothers this left hook a little bit. You can see it kind of like lands on the back because he turns into it and he has his guard up. And as he does, he also loads up with that left uppercut and he lands straight in the solar plexus diaphragm area, probably while he was breathing. And so yeah, that you can see when Estrada goes down, a lot of pain. And that's a great example of why I always say body shots are far more painful than headshots. When people get knocked out with headshots, it looks like their soul leaves their body, but when people get knocked out with body shots, it looks like they would want their soul to leave their body so they didn't have to experience what he's experiencing right now. Okay, on to the next. I'm out.